Two of the biggest advancements in satellite communication just hit the market. Apple and Garmin are in a fight to the death, each dropping sweet new features to their satellite communication arsenals. But there is one really big reason why only one of these tech giants is going to win the satellite war. Today we're going to talk about them both, use them firsthand, and tell you what's worth buying and what's not. So let's check it out. Just last week, Apple released iOS 18, which allows two-way messaging almost anywhere in the world. This is a feature that until now needed a separate satellite device that would pair with your phone and send and receive messages through satellites. Okay, so I updated to iOS 18 last night, and now I've hiked out past cell phone range. So let's go ahead and give this thing a try and see how well it does when sending satellite messages. Now, this is a direct attempt to kill off satellite communicators like Garmin inReach, Zoleo, and more. No longer do you need a separate device to message friends and loved ones when you're out of cell phone range. It seems like a death blow to standalone satellite communicators, but
I'm not dead! He isn't? Well, he will be soon. He's very ill.
Garmin isn't going down easily. Earlier this week, Garmin released a brand new satellite communicator, the Messenger Plus, that does something no other satellite communicator has been able to do. You can now send pictures and voice messages anywhere in the world. Okay, so we have a beautiful view here. I'm going to go ahead and snap a picture of this and try to send it out to my wife using the Messenger Plus. And so you might be thinking, okay, Apple's bringing messaging in device, Garmin's sending pictures, but which one is the better way to go? Well, there are a lot of pros and cons to both of these that we're going to talk about, with one really big pro that I think makes this whole thing no contest. So let's talk about it. First, let's talk about the fact that iPhone is not a dedicated satellite device. It's not rugged or designed to be outdoors. It's intended to be sleek and thin, and that leaves very little room for a satellite antenna. As a result, you have to help the phone see the satellites in order to get a clear signal. Okay, so I talked about this a little bit when Apple first came out with their emergency SOS. I thought that chasing satellites all over the sky and having to turn your body, especially if you were injured, was a major con. But as usually the case, people had different opinions down in the comments and said, you don't have to turn your body, just turn the phone. Well, I'm going to show you why I think that's not very practical. The problem with this is if you just turn the phone, depending on where the satellites are, you're not going to be able to see your screen anymore, which necessitates turning your body, which I think is a con considering the fact that Garmin inReach Messenger just hangs off your pack and seems to be able to see and communicate with satellites without needing to turn to face them. So to me, the iPhone's small, sleek antenna is a little bit of a con, but it's not the biggest con. Look at where I am at, and yet I still have one little bar of service. Can I send any messages with this one little bar of service? No, I can't. But will Apple let me use my satellite messenger? No, it won't, because it still sees that one little bar. The biggest problem I found with iPhone messaging is there's no way to initiate satellite messaging until you are completely out of cell phone range. Have you ever been on the edge of cell phone range where you have just one little bar of service, yet you can't seem to get a message out no matter how hard you try? This happens to me on trail more than I like, and if I want or need to send a message, the iPhone won't let me as long as it has that little bar. It wants to use a cellular network. This is mainly because satellite messages cost more to send than just regular text messages, and Apple is trying to prevent sending any unneeded satellite messages. But when cell phone service isn't strong enough, it'd be really nice to just turn on satellite messaging, but there's no way to do that. But with Garmin, if cell service isn't working, just flip it on airplane mode and the Messenger Plus will automatically start sending through satellite even if you are in the middle of a city. And then you have battery life. My iPhone 14 can't make it through a regular day at home without the battery running dry, so I usually switch to airplane mode when I'm on the trail to save as much battery as I can. I'm still using my phone as a GPS and sometimes as a camera, so I usually bring a battery bank along with me anyway, but when you are relying on your phone for emergency SOS and messaging my wife to let her know I'm okay, if I want to get a message back, I'm going to have to leave it off airplane mode, which means it's going to be constantly searching for signal, and that drains the battery pretty fast. Not an ideal situation for your satellite communicator. Whereas Garmin not only has a battery that will last for days, but it can even charge your phone as if it's a battery bank. And even if your phone dies, you can still use Messenger Plus to send, read, and call SOS using the built-in screen. Now, this screen is tiny, so it's much easier to use the Messenger paired with your phone, but if your phone dies, you're not out of luck. Last, Apple chose to use the Globalstar satellite network, which out of all the satellite networks out there seems to be the worst. It doesn't have full global coverage, which doesn't even matter because right now Apple satellite messaging only works in the US and Canada anyway. But on top of that, Globalstar seems to drop messages much more than the Iridium network, which is what Garmin is using. Iridium is not only more reliable, but it is a truly global network, meaning you can go anywhere in the world and still use your Garmin Messenger. On top of that, Garmin also has live tracking that lets your friends or loved ones see where you are and where you've been in real time, and has a track back feature that lets you retrace your steps in the unfortunate event you get lost on the trail. When you compare the iPhone to the Garmin Messenger Plus, it really feels like Garmin has outdone Apple in every way. But the only real pro that Apple has is the messaging is native to the phone with no third-party device needed. But there is one really big pro that I think could be the death blow to Garmin and other satellite messengers. But before I talk about that, I need to tell you about the HighBoid P6 electric bike. Now, I've reviewed a few e-bikes on this channel, but I'm really excited about this one for one main reason. If you watch this channel regularly, then you know that I recently moved to the Denver area, which is a much more bike-friendly city than where I used to live. Before, if I wanted to ride a bike, my only choice was the street or a handful of trails. But Denver has so many more options. With the HighBoid P6, I can take advantage of them all, because the P6 is a true all-terrain bike. Take it on paved roads or out on the trail thanks to the fat 26 by 4 inch all-terrain tires. Fun fact, fat bike tires are actually more stable and easier to balance than regular bike tires for a couple of reasons. One, they've got more surface area contact on the ground, which gives them better traction. And two, they have more mass spinning around the tire, which gives them more angular momentum. That law of physics that makes spinning objects want to stay upright. And the P6 is one of the more affordable bikes on the market, on sale right now for just $959. A lot of e-bikes are well over $1,000, with some costing as much as $4,000. But if you use the code MyLifeOutdoors, you can get another 7% off the P6 and get a high-quality bike with an efficient motor, durable battery, comfortable riding design at an exceptional price. Go check it out at HighBoid.com or through the link in the description. And for those of you that are worried, don't be. I made sure that not only are these mountain bike trails, but they are e-bike friendly trails. Now, back to satellite communicators. As of right now, if you own an iPhone 14 or newer, emergency SOS and messaging is included completely free with no additional monthly service charge, whereas Garmin needs at least $8 a month just to have emergency SOS. Anything beyond that, and Garmin charges you per message, per image sent, and more. If you want tracking, you have to pay $29 a month, and if you want unlimited messages, you have to pay $50 a month. That's on top of the cost of the device, which right now is $500 if you want a device that can send photos and voice messages. So even if you pay the $500 for the device and $50 a month for unlimited text messages, you still only get 50 photo or voice messages. So even though the iPhone may never be as good as a dedicated satellite messenger, it's really hard to justify the cost of paying all this money just so you can send a few photos in the backcountry. Now, iPhone messaging may not be free forever. Apple hasn't said how long this will last or how much it's going to cost if they start charging. When that happens, I think the only way that Garmin, Zoleo, or other satellite messengers are going to survive is if they offer cheaper service. I know for me, that's the only thing that's going to keep me with Garmin. Sending photos are cool, ease of use and other features are cool, but they're not $8 to $50 a month cool. But what about you? How much would you pay for satellite messaging? I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, and do all those other things. And as always, thanks for watching. Phone to the Garmin. Twisted my ankle.